It is 7 o'clock. We are going to start the St. Mary's City Council. Roll call, please.
Flagel,
Here.
Ulenhag,
Here.
Fitzgerald,
Here.
Willoughby,
Here.
Chrisman,
Here.
Coverman,
Here.
Buck.
All rise, please join Pastor Shear in a brief prayer, please.
I've always just come up and prayed, but I want to say thank you guys for your service. Thank you. Father, I am so grateful for the city of St. Mary's. I thank you for what you've provided for your people. Father, I pray right now blessings upon the city council and the members of the city administration. Father, we thank you for what you do each and every day through them and for them. Father, I pray blessings upon them and upon their families as they serve the city of St. Mary's. Father, may you be part of this service, bring peace, bring unity. Father, we give you all the praise, all the glory, and all the honor. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All received a copy of the minutes. Are there any questions or corrections or comments? If not, may I have a motion to accept, please? Mr. Ulenag, Mr. Fitzgerald, council vote to accept, please. All yeses. Thank you. Under petitions and communication, we have a letter, request for zoning, St. Mary's City Schools, addressed to me. Requested zoning change, dear Mr. Harris. The Board of Education of St. Mary's City Schools is hereby requesting a change in the zoning for the parcel where the Dennings building is located. The legal description of this property is attached there here too. It is our understanding this property is currently zoned R3 and we are requesting it be changed to industrial zoning, particularly I1. The Board of Education will be offering this building for sale since the classes and activities which formerly took place in the Dennings building have now all been moved to the new TriStar facility between St. Mary's and Salina. As a result, the Board of Education has no further use of this building and we will be offering it for public auction. In order to do so, the zoning must be compatible with future use. We understand this will be forwarded to the Planning Commission. We appreciate your cooperation in this matter. Any questions or comments from council? May I have a motion to refer this to the Planning Commission? Mr. Coverman, Mr. Chrisman, council vote to send this on to the planning. All yeses, thank you. Okay, now, this is the time for people to address council. Ma'am?
I'm Nancy Dials, and I live at 911 West Spring Street. I know we've had an abundance of water. I mean, everybody knows that. But even when they first put that pipes and stuff in, I started getting water up in my basement. This is before we got all the rain. And I don't understand the problem is that it's not going out instead of coming up in my basement. I live on a hill. And the neighbors, they were supposed to come, I don't know why they didn't. They had 15 inches of water in their garage this 2 times before when we got the rain. And it's not fair to us to have all that water standing there. I mean, it's just like a big flood zone. It goes clear out to the back, to the field. Now, what's wrong with this picture? Something definitely. Now, I know they have a pump. It's in front of your house. I don't know why they don't have it in front of our house down where we're at, because when it comes from yours, it just pushes all the water down our way, and that makes it even worse on us. So I don't know what the rhyme and reason is for that. But I am just tired of all the water getting in my basement and having all that big mess out in front. You can't even drive out through there if you had an emergency. So I want to know what can be done about it.
Mr. Foxwell, I guess we had Mr. Mueller leave a little too soon.
Well, no,
He's just right here.
There he is.
Trying to help Nancy out. Congratulations. Basically down there on Spring Street, obviously we all know there's been a problem down there for a long, long time. There's 2 issues down there. One's with the sanitary sewer overflowing and two is the storm sewer. I think you talked about your neighbor having 15 inches in the garage. I'm assuming
Yeah.
that was from storm sewer then.
Well, I don't know.
Just
Just water.
If it's in the garage, it'd be from the storm sewer. So With the sanitary issue, you all know we've had a problem in that whole general area of town for a long, long time. We got a big flow rate study going on right now. Try to detail out where our major problem areas are and how we can fix that. Obviously, it's not a quick fix, it's not an overnight fix. We spent millions of dollars just trying to alleviate some of the problem, which we have done. We put that new pump station in down there at the end of Spring Street, which took care of a lot of the flooding issues. We also put in a new 15-inch in front of her house here last year instead of a 12 inches, a 15-inch, trying to carry some more water. Obviously, those are, I'm gonna call them Band-Aids for a major problem. You know, the infiltration coming into our sanitary sewer is the root of the problem, so that's what we have to address, and I know this flow rate study is going to address all that. So it's just a matter of long-term fix here for your sanitary sewer overflow.
Easy peasy, how long fix?
I can't-
You wanna
I
come
can't
and
say.
clean my basement
Nope,
every
I
time?
so I can't
Come
help
on,
though.
man.
I'll try, but no. So it is a long-term fix. I mean, to start off with, most likely, like we talked about early on, is the pump. Some pumps getting out of the sanitary sewers. That is a major contributor to it. The broken laterals, the broken main lines, all that stuff contributes to the sanitary overflows that we've had. Obviously, this year we've had 4 events just this year so far that's flooded St. Mary's, which is very unusual. Most of the time we see maybe 1 every 2 years, and this time we've seen 4 already this year. If it rains a bunch more this week, we can see it again. So it's just an unusual amount of rain that historically we're seeing here.
So why don't they have a pump down at Augustus and Spring? Because the pump is down in front of Todd's.
Right.
The water rushes down and we get an overabundance,
More
more than what we originally had.
Well, if it's pumped there at that manhole, it's a sanitary manhole they're pumping. It.
Okay,
So if they're pumping that sanitary manhole in a flooded intersection, all you're doing is recirculating that water. So they set it up a little bit higher to try to pump that sanitary down as much as possible to help that water going back up in the basements. Again,
well, I'm still getting it, man.
you are, yeah.
Yeah.
We just can't take care of all that water. Those amounts of rain, those are very unusual amounts of rain we've been
Well,
having.
I understand that, but
Yeah,
it was doing it when they were working on that road, when they had just completed it.
right.
I'm
Yeah.
on a hill and I shouldn't have all that.
You shouldn't, but it does happen, yeah. I mean, the
Tell me
right
that
fix, the
stuff.
right fix to it though is to get all the infiltration taken out of the sanitary sewer. That is the proper fix for this, and it's not a short-term solution.
Well, how long you think it'll take? Years?
It could be a
I'll
5
be
to 10 year
gone.
program. It could be,
Then I wouldn't even care.
yeah,
Yeah.
at that point.
Shame on you.
You're the one who said it.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Look how much older I
So-
am than you, man.
So the storm sewer issue down there, there's only one outlet for the storm sewer in that general area, which goes under the tracks, and we have, I think, a 24-inch that's above grade, basically field level.
Uh-huh.
That goes under the tracks, and then underneath that, I think we got another 24-inch that goes out. That's all, it's the only outlet for that whole area.
Well, why don't they have another one?
The reason is if you put another one in, then you're flooding somebody else downstream.
Oh, well,
That's acting
you
as a
know,
mini retention.
sorry about their luck.
It's been like that, again, for 100 years, since
I
that
know.
railroad bed got put in.
And Craig,
I
if we
know.
ask for a larger tile, if we tried to get a tile, that's the county's decision whether we'd be able to get a larger tile underneath the railroad track? Because the city doesn't own on the other side of the railroad track, correct?
We just got that 24 that runs through that farmer's field. We've seen this in the past where we got sued by one of the neighbors to the south there because we increased the flow, water didn't detain it, and we got sued there, so we ended up putting a big retention pond in from that lawsuit years ago. Same scenario would be there. If you increase any flow going past that railroad track, you're gonna be flooding out other people, as we all know. The more that water gets retained north of the tracks, the less we gotta deal with it through here. So if we get that water immediately south of the tracks, it goes into that creek, and that's just gonna end up here just that much faster. So no matter how much flow you got, you're gonna deal with it somewhere, if that makes sense. Right now, it's getting detained. That's acting as a natural detention area, and we need to see that.
Okay.
And it's just that there's so much water coming, it's been like that ever since I've been here for 25 years, and I'm assuming it's been like that for 50 years, whatever.
I have no idea. Todd, do you have water in your basement?
No, I don't. I had one issue, and it wasn't due to a storm event, it was by some point this good.
Oh,
So,
okay.
and it wasn't even during a big storm event. Will I have water in my issue if the power's ever out? Yes, because I have dual sump pumps, and they run at full capacity when we get the big rain, but if we lose power, it'll be underwater. But
Well,
it's never happened yet.
Yeah, I have a generator, my kids got me for in case, stuff like that. But I haven't thought about putting another one in, but what would be the point of me putting another sub pump in?
Well, just because, in my instance, I had one fail, and if I would've had the other one, it would've kicked in and picked it up. But
But you
that's not a save-all either. Your generator's a lot better situation than what I have with dual sump
Right.
pumps.
I have two sump pumps. I have one on the inside of the basement and I have one on the outside.
Oh, really?
And in these last several rain events, both of them go absolutely nuts.
Nuts, mine does too,
But
constantly.
I had a fitting fail, but one could keep up while I could repair the other one. So
I understand that, yeah.
But, yeah, my basement's been dry. But there was one time, it rained so hard, and the pumps are not continuously running, and it still seeped in. I got a little damp spot. It wasn't wet, it was just damp. I knew, well, the way the rain was, I couldn't even see the house across the street. It rained so hard.
But I will be a witness to Nancy too, that, the last one we had, I came down Sturgeon Street to get into my driveway. Essentially, I even ripped up the bottom of my car, because it's like going through a small river.
Right.
I happened to have my small car in there for a while. I thought, man, am I even gonna make it down to the street?
Exactly.
And at the time, I didn't know how bad it was, so I was, all the way down
Well,
the street.
it's horrid down there.
I mean, and Craig's right, these events, I drove up, the one before that, because I knew we had problems with the people on High Street, that I drove up Sturgeon to look at that, and there was a river going this way, and there was a river coming down between the lady at High Street going down the next road too.
Right.
And it was just splitting them.
I realize.
To be honest with you, I don't know the answer to that, I know that engineering's looking at that, okay?
I would encourage anybody that's got problems with the sewer backing up into their basements to
I
talk to
haven't
a
had any of
plumber.
that.
Well, if it's coming through a floor drain or not.
The water's coming up through the tile.
Your floor drain and your,
No,
what
there's,
do you mean through the tile?
in my basement, part of it's got tile.
Okay.
There, where some of it got cracked, there's water oozing up through
Oh,
there.
you're
So what
saying
the
you got
heck is
actual,
going on?
like ceramic tile in your basement?
Yeah.
Okay, well, I can come down and
So-
take a look at that, but
Sure.
there might be a floor drain underneath that tile, but if you got water coming up through a floor drain in your basement, that's typically connected to the sanitary sewer, and in your area, the sanitary sewer backs up, and that water comes up through the floor drain. So one thing you can look at is talking to a plumber and having a check valve put in your sanitary lateral. That would, it's not going to
I don't
solve
want, I
all your
want you to
problems.
check it out.
I'll look at it with you, yeah,
All right.
that's fine, come down and look at it.
What a
but-
guy.
Yeah.
Well, I'm Greg Elsoff. I live on 306 Concord, up the road from her. So we've had water in our basement 4 times now in the past month, backfilling through the drain. I understand that when you guys put that pump on Sturgeon, as soon as you guys turn that pump on, it usually goes down instantly. I'm not sure why we cannot either fix that area or have a pump actually where it kicks on when the float hits. Or, I know what you're trying to say, it's gonna be a long time fix, it's gonna take a while to fix it.
We will.
But I'm asking what the city can do for now for a temporary fix for us, because I don't wanna sit here and deal with this problem
And we've never had water before.
day in, day out,
Well, there again, it's because of the rain events we've had. Like you said, you haven't had that before. What we did about back in 07, 08, we put that second big pump station in that take care of all the sanitary sewer from the lake. From everything that's coming in from the county, we built a whole new lift station just to take care of that. And that got pumped directly to the sewer plant. So the Spring Street pump station that takes on your guys' sanitary did not have to pump all the water coming in from the lake as well. So during the big rain events, you basically had double whammy to one lift station, now it's split into 2. And we got bypasses and overflows that work. But if you remember in 2017, we had an issue where we had a good sized rain event. It wasn't huge, but it was a good sized rain event. Everybody got flooded out again. That's because 3 of our pumps failed in that new lift station. But before that, we didn't have a problem after we put that in. It was actually, we didn't have to run the pumps hardly at all. And now you got such saturated ground And you're getting all these rain events like this, it's just, everything is getting to that sanitary sewer so quick, the stormwater is, and it's just not designed to handle that type of work. Like I said, you typically got an 8-inch sanitary sewer, it's got about that much water in it.
Right.
Once it starts raining like that, you need a 18, 24-inch sewer, and it's all trying to go through that 8-inch. So what happens is it just backs up to the place it can find, that's your basement, unfortunately. So, you know, there is no short-term fix to this except, you know, like I said, encourage everybody to look into it with a plumber to put a check valve in their laterals. That would help. Now, again, a check valve's mechanical, it could fail at
Right.
some point. It needs to be able to clean it out, that type of thing. But that is one short-term fix I could.
I understand that, but I think it's also the city's fault where we shouldn't have to pay for that. I think it's the city's responsibility to take care of our check valve until they can actually fix.
Especially when we get feces back in our
Yeah, if it
basement.
was just water, it wouldn't be a big deal, but we're talking
It's actually
about.
turds.
Mhm.
They've got a check valve, it doesn't help. Correct?
Yeah.
It bypasses it. It forces it back.
And they're on sturgeon.
Like I said,
right?
check valves are not foolproof. Again,
Right.
that's what I said.
But it
it's
still should
one
slow it
thing.
down.
I mean, when I
It
bought
should,
the
yeah.
house, it wasn't disclosed that the basement had shit in it, so I don't think I mean, I can't even, he's trying to sell his house. He has to disclose that it floods.
Right, right.
I mean, I did a service request online in July 15th of 2015, asking someone to look at it
Never got a response.
and never got a response. Our basement is supposed to be finished. We have
We
a
lost
futon
everything
down
in our
there.
basement for the first time, 2015. Carpet, furniture,
I can't
TVs.
Keep
You can't turn in
doing
your
this.
insurance and expect your insurance to drop you for a claim. I mean, you can't keep doing this every time it rains.
And when I call to ask him to turn the pump on, it's 2 hours later, then it's too late and my basement's already full of crap.
Yeah, it's something Jeff Thompson could look at with as far as the levels that they turn these pumps on. You know, we don't, you said about the automatic float, that would be nice, but again, that's a major, about like building another pump station right there in the middle of Spring Street.
Right.
You know, again, it's putting a Band-Aid on the problem at hand. The general problem that we have is all the sump pumps. Like your guys' house, I don't know, do you guys know where your sump pumps tie into?
I just
I
had a
don't
sewer
have
line put
something,
in.
I just got a drain.
My sump pump's
Your
running right out my
natural
yard.
Mine's just a natural
And your
drain.
sump pumps in the yard, it's like your natural drain is probably tied to a sanitary lateral, which through this process, we gotta look at getting all that stuff disconnected. So we don't have all that natural water going into the sanitary, which is causing it. Yours is good.
I've got a drain also, right beside my sump pump. And if I plug that drain, it's shooting out my toilet and it'll blow the toilet
Right,
seat right off.
you're
of it.
exactly right, it will. Yeah.
You know, it's, there, you can't stop it anywhere.
Right.
I put a new sewer line in 2 years ago. You know, if I know then I could have put a check valve in, or if I knew anything about those, I probably would have done it then.
Mhm.
But now I gotta spend another $1,000 to put a check valve in that probably ain't gonna work either.
And again, there's no short-term,
But I don't feel it's
Solution
my
for that.
issue that I have to do.
Right.
yeah, that's not on me, I guess, I'm just.
Yeah,
letting you
you're
know.
just-
I know,
My
I'm just,
decision on
we're
that
just
part
very
of it, so-
frustrated, you know, there's
Sure,
a whole lot of us that would've came to this meeting tonight, but, you know, people's busy.
understandable.
You live on Sturgeon, you said, right?
I live on.
We live on
Concord.
Concord.
Okay.
I live on a corner of Concord and North. And we were told they were supposed to take that road up on North Street to put bigger lines in sometime, I think it was last year or this year, I don't know when, I'm sorry. And we still haven't seen any of that.
I'm not sure what that, I mean, we weren't looking to do any kind of upsizing of lines on North Street. They got there's a big storm sewer already in there as far as the sanitary lines. Our typical size is 8 to 10 inch on our sanitary lines, and I don't think we was really looking to upsize any of that stuff.
Okay.
The only thing we upsized was on Spring Street where it was a 12 inch on the sanitary sewer. We increased it to a 15 inch, just because that was a big trunk sewer down through there. Your guys is just considered a standard line.
What I guess what don't make sense to me, okay. On Sturgeon there, you guys got that pump. You're pumping from one manhole 5 feet away to another hole.
To the
And
storm
it goes
sewer.
away.
To the storm sewer, it's pumping to the storm sewer.
Okay, and then the people right across from me, the Dennings, they don't get a drop of water. They're on a different sewer line.
It could be. I'm not real familiar.
I mean,
with how
it just don't
the
make
line
sense to
ran.
me at all, whatsoever.
What we're seeing is with these rain events, it's not a slow gradual 2 inches, it's
Right.
2 inches in a half hour, 2 inches an hour.
Right.
That kills
It's
us
hard rain.
when that happens. Yeah, we just haven't seen this in a long time like this many times in a row, so.
We're not getting it.
Like I said, no, I'm just saying, there's no long, short-term solution to this problem. But we all gotta remember that whenever we get through this flow rate study, because it's gonna be a big impact to the city on what to do, what the cost is gonna be. You know, possibilities of equalization basins out there at the sewer plant, which we already got one that holds, I think, 3 to 4 million gallons of overflow for our sanitary. You know, you could put another one of those in that holds 10 million gallons. Try to get everything there faster, but then you got to upsize all your lines to get it there faster. So again, those are just Band-Aids that you're putting on top of the real problem. So we definitely got to look at the root of the problem here and start looking at getting all the stormwater out of this sanitary sewer. Do it.
Sir, what's your address, please?
302 Concord.
302.
You know, and when it doesn't rain, I mean, we don't generate enough water ever, because we're on the downhill, of course. And I've actually got to run a garden hose to my sump pump to keep it cleaned out for the stagnant water, because we don't normally generate water. But when it rains, we get an inch and a half, shit, it's coming out my drain tile this high. I mean, it's shooting now.
Have you seen that much before this summer?
Yes, since 2015.
And that's when you said you moved in there?
We bought it in 2012.
You bought it in
It
2012.
never happened until the work was done on Sturgeon
Sturgeon.
in spring.
It started worse with Sturgeon and it got worse with the spring.
Which is what you said too, right? Didn't it get worse with the
Yeah.
Spring Street?
Yeah,
We never had any sign of water
So
at all.
2015.
Now you can come down and take a look at your individual problem.
I said, I've been in my house since '06, and like I said, I had water 4 times in the past month, but other than that, since '06, I think I had it twice maybe, and just a little bit then.
Which is understandable, you know, with the events we've had.
Right.
Great events we've had, so that doesn't surprise me. Your 2015 one, I'm just trying to think back on the events, but I can
That's
come
when
down and take a
Sturgeon was
look at
done,
your
I think.
house. Yeah. Okay.
Craig, sir, what's your address?
Mine's 306,
306?
yeah, Greg with a G.
So you got 306, you got
302.
302. Concord.
Concord Avenue, yeah.
Craig, do you have those addresses?
I can get them.
I'm 216 Sturgeon, Miller.
Your Tuska's old house.
Who's?
Tuska Fish Pond.
Yeah. So I would just like to say that when those pumps are turned on up the street, the water in my basement recedes like that. And I am just asking, can you please turn those on sooner? Because when there's water, you don't understand unless you've gone through it, and when you keep going through it, it's a nightmare. And like, we don't wanna move. We wanna take care of the problem, we wanna stay where we are, we like our neighbors, we like the neighborhood.
Same here.
But it's getting so frustrating, you know, what it does to the kids and what it does to just everything. It's just, it's time consuming, and now this scares me that they're saying that they're having problems since the Spring Street issue, because last year when we were here, we were told that that should help our problem. But I'm just asking that those pumps, please, can you just leave them there, and when it starts raining, can we turn them on?
Give me a key, I'll start it.
Yeah.
I'm not kidding,
Yeah.
like, it recedes like that out of my back room as soon as you turn those
Because
on.
when we call, it takes them at least an hour and a half to 2 hours to
It
get
took
there
them
and start them.
2 hours
By
and
then,
then
it's all
it's
done
too
ready.
late.
last Saturday to
The
get there to turn
difficulty
it on.
for us is trying to get an accurate weather forecast, which is very frustrating.
We understand that.
Right.
When we know they're coming, like the last week, we had a sense that these heavy rains were coming, we can get prepared for it. And we
You had
did.
the pumps out a lot earlier this
We have
last
Yeah,
month.
they were out, but you gotta
But-
turn them off.
Right,
Okay.
When they cry wolf so many times.
yes, I understand that,
And you have folks in on overtime and it never rains.
Right.
And then these rain events that we get up to almost historic proportion, they don't
Right.
land backwards.
yeah,
And so it's hard for us to know until we're right in the middle of it.
right,
So trust me, we're all very weary of all the rain.
And we all know the ground's saturated and
Right.
it has nowhere to go. We know
Yeah,
that.
and again, the only 2 inches of rain that is not too big of an issue for us, but after these last 2 flooding events, 2 inches of rain causes us problems. So we're trying to stay ahead of this, but our frustration is with the weather forecasters, they can't seem to get it right for us.
right,
If we have faith or confidence in their forecast, we'll act, we'll get out sooner. But these last 2 events, they had no idea they were coming until they were here, and then we're reacting to it. So yeah, we're frustrated, our people are frustrated. You know, they say a storm's coming tonight, that causes a lot of anxiety for folks, and I understand that, because we're living it. So we'll try to stay,
Yeah, and the pumps are gone today.
yeah,
You know, like at this point, we don't go on vacation.
yeah,
Or if we do, somebody's on standby and it just, it's hard.
yeah, I understand, that's a lot of us, that's the life we're living right now, yeah.
One thing I'd say is, I'm a 413 Concord. And we bought that house, and it did not have any sump pumps in it.
Just don't get it.
We put them in, and we put a check valve in.
Right.
And then the plumbing contractor, who is also the contractor who does my HVAC, comes in and does the inspection. That's included in my inspection, check my check valve. Yeah, it's gonna cost me a little extra, but I'd rather pay it then and then pay for cleaning up a
Right.
flood
So-
basement.
We have the addresses, Craig, Jeff, Paul, we can get together and go visit these homes and see if there's something that is maybe being missed.
And Craig, could we also look at, is backtrack on the engineering, the design, what happened in spring when I know we talked about evacuating that water, the bigger pipe went to down there, right?
On
When the
Spring Street,
Yeah, West Spring on this, when we did all that construction last year. That pipe was made bigger.
the sanitary sewer,
The
we
sanitary,
upsized
oh,
it,
the
not the storm sewer.
So
Storm
the
sewer.
other issue was with the older homes like that built in the 50s and stuff, that the sewer, the sanitary's tied in with the storm, right?
Well, that's,
Sometimes.
in the house themselves, the footer drains are typically,
Mhm.
if you got a basement drain in your basement, that's tied to the sanitary sewer. And typically what they did is they tied the footer tile right to that sanitary lateral, just because it's convenient to do.
Yeah.
Back in the day, they
Back
didn't
then
think
it was
twice
allowed.
about it. Right. So what we gotta look at in the future is to, we'll get doing a program where we're smoking these houses to find out who's got, we're gonna call that an illegal connection. And today's standards, we'll find those connections, and at that point, they'll, it's up to you guys as far as mandating what, but the thing to do is to disconnect those footer tiles from that sanitary lateral and put in a sump pit that would pump that water either onto the ground or into the storm sewer. But you also gotta remember, if we start requiring all that, how's our storm sewers gonna handle all that extra water? So you still could overflow something, because the storm sewer is only designed to a 10 to 25 year storm. They're not designed to take a 100-year storm. Again, you do that to help alleviate downstream flooding and everything. Basically, all the communities designed to the same standard. So one problem could compound into another, but obviously at first we gotta focus on the sanitary issue.
That needs to be looked at,
Yeah.
for sure.
Okay, we good? For right now, at least?
For now.
For now? Okay.
Unless
Then,
it stops raining, I mean,
Right.
I guess you gotta consider the saturation too. I mean, there's
Yeah.
no place for this water to go. I'm on a hill too, like Nancy, where I'm at, and my sump pumps are going crazy.
if you wanna see a bigger picture, I flew over
Water,
the
water,
town.
water.
And like we
A
said,
pump on the outside,
No, if you wanna see a bigger picture of St. Mary's,
yeah.
I was in a plane flying over the town.
I don't even like where I'm at, I don't wanna see the whole town.
There goes. Okay, I'm gonna move on then. Next, we have reports from city officials. We have the auditor's report, Mr. Reason.
I have no corrections or deletions to
Any questions or comments from council? Then we have the treasurer's report.
Denny's report, the same thing.
Any questions or comments for council? Then we have the director of public service and safety report.
Mr. Harris, I have nothing to add to my report, but I'll be glad to answer any questions anyone might have.
Any questions or comments from council?
Yeah, I live at 210 Concord, and that watered my basement for the first time in years.
we have a time frame on the pedestrian bridge.
We're looking to bid that pedestrian bridge in July of 2020.
2020.
Yeah, and we're hoping to have it constructed by July of 2021. But again, that's just projected, right?
Projection, that's better than what I heard, so, okay.
Okay.
I guess I have a question, not necessarily regarding that, but the balance report. The general fund, we're down, what, 300,000? Is that a normal this time of year where the disbursements are worse?
It's better than normal.
Well, I think it's also important to remember, we moved 500,000
Okay.
from the general fund at the beginning of the year for the sanitary sewer overflow study. So, yeah, it doesn't look good right now because it's 205,000 in the red, but you gotta be mindful the year-to-date number, the year-to-date figures.
Okay.
They don't reflect that $500,000 that we moved. You know, most communities are borrowing that money, we were able to move it.
We're currently not nervous about the general fund.
Any other questions or comments from council?
I got one.
Yes.
On the street projects, do we have a projected start date for Cheshire, the Cheshire behind me?
We do not yet. We're working on the design right now, and I'm hoping to get it bid out this summer, at some point, like later on in the summer, but I don't know if it'll get constructed this year yet or not, so it's just too early to tell on that.
Thank you.
Anything else? Okay, we have no reports of committees from city council. Under readings of ordinances and resolution. Under third reading, we have ordinance 2019-12. That was the topic of the hearing. I'd like to see that referred back to engineering for a 2-week
I
study.
was just going to say, I'd like to make a motion to table this ordinance 2019-12 and refer it back to engineering.
I have a motion to table by Mr. Christman, second by Mr. Wingo. Council vote to table, please. All yeses. Thank you. This will be back at the next meeting. Next, we have ordinance 2019-13. Under second readings, emergency ordinance authorizing the execution of the Prairie State Replacement Power Schedule with American Municipal Power, AMP. Any questions or comments from council? We're still good for 3 readings? Yes, sir. This will be back for the final reading at the next meeting. Under new legislation, we have ordinance 2019-15. May I have a motion to read, please?
So moved.
Ms. Willoughby, Mr. Christman.
Second.
Council vote to read, please. All yeses, thank you. Ordinance 2019-15, an ordinance amending section 339.01C of the codified ordinances relating to oversized or overweight vehicle operations on state routes, state permit. Mr. Fox.
Mr. Harris, this ordinance will basically bring us in, make us more consistent with the Ohio Revised Code. Right now, oversized trucks, overweight trucks, if the officers do issue a citation, it's under city code, city ordinance, the fines we feel are more appropriate with the revised code. This ordinance will simply allow that to happen. For instance, overweight truck in town of 20 or 30,000 pounds overweight could end up with the city ordinance would be $150, which isn't going to change anyone's behavior, but cited under the state code would be about $1,000 to $1,200 fine, and that would change their behavior. That's also an attempt to just bring it in line with the Ohio Revised Code, as far as the penalties go.
I'd like to add that Zach Farrell found this in regards to prosecuting some cases, and we have some officers who've been trained, I guess, in weight. You have to go through a certification in order to make an arrest for an overweight vehicle. We've had some officers who've been trained, so when they cite them under, the way it is under state law, the penalty is based on the amount of weight you're over. So it's a much higher fine, but under the city, penalty is only a minor misdemeanor. So we can charge now, since we have these officers are trained, they can file under city code. Frankly, the money accruing to the city is gonna be a lot more instead of charging under state code. So that's what it is, it's amending the penalties.
Was there an issue that brought this up in the first place?
I think the officers just noticed it. They noticed it's something that's always been worked. But when they receive this additional training, and started actually issuing citations. Normally we leave that stuff up to the highway patrol. But when they started to take more enforcement action on it, it became evident that the penalties associated through the city ordinance just weren't adequate to change anyone's behavior. And again, these overweight trucks are causing problems for our roads. If you cite them through the Ohio Revised Code, that money will eventually come back to the city.
What's the, Greg, is there other municipalities that have went with the state that have basically went away from local control back to the state code on this? You know?
I don't know that. I mean, the officers brought this to our attention, because we've had some serious overweight charges. They go in and plead guilty, they admit it, I mean, and say, okay.
Well, I just wanted to know if there's any type of legal action arrest.
They
They
will still-
fought it and there was some type of
No.
issue with,
The officers, once this is done, the officers will continue to cite under city code. Right now, it's my understanding that they're just using the revised code, they're citing under state
ORC.
ORC, yeah. Yeah, if this is passed and the penalties fall more in line with the Ohio Revised Code, they'll continue to cite under the city ordinance.
Any other questions or comments from council? If not, this will be back for the second reading at the next meeting. Next, we have Resolution 2019-18. May I have a motion to read, please? Mr. Fitzgerald, Mr. Yolnik, council vote to read, please. All yeses. An emergency resolution for the repair, replacement, or construction of curbing, gutters, sidewalks, combination sidewalks and curbs, asphalt, pavement, and drive approaches. Mr. Foxell.
Mr. Harris, this resolution will allow us to receive bids for resurfaced streets. I would like to point out there is a mistake, so we will have to have an amendment here. The resurfacing streets will be West High Street, Stony Brook Drive, Cumberland Drive. If you'll note, number 3 there, Cheshire Drive, that needs to be removed, deleted, so we'll have to have an amendment to this resolution. Cheshire will have its own legislation because it'll be completely reconstructed, and we're working on that.
We have a request to amend this ordinance. What is council's wishes? Mr. Flegel.
move to amend resolution 219-18,
To remove Cheshire Drive.
Cheshire Drive.
Okay.
Second.
Second by Mr. Coleman. Council vote to amend, please. All yeses.
Yes, and then we would request it be passed under suspension of rules tonight. We'd like to continue moving forward with the bids.
We have a request to suspend the rules. What is council's wishes? Mr. Coleman.
Motion to suspend the rules for 2019-18.
Motion to suspend by Mr. Coleman, second by Mr. Chrisman. Council vote to suspend, please. All yeses. If that's the case, may I have motion to pass?
under
Mr. Fitzgerald. Second by Mr. Chrisman. Council vote to pass, please. All yeses. Okay, thank you. Next, we have scheduling of miscellaneous business and closing. We good?
I'm not ready to meet.
Okay. We good? Does council need any meetings?
Motion to,
Okay, motion to.
Motion to excuse Mr. Buck.
Motion to excuse Mr. Buck, second by Mr. Flegel. Council vote to excuse, please. All yeses. That being the case, anything else come before council? Mr. Goverman?
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn by Mr. Buck.
We already did that.
We already did that. We already voted.
She voted no, no.
Seconded by
Second, second by Robin. Council vote to, we're done. Thank you.